Hey, you're watching Rapid MMA. This is going to be a rather abbreviated breakdown for Holly Holm versus Valentina Shevchenko taking place this weekend. There was much that I wanted to get done, but in the time frame that was available to me, I wasn't able to get the detailed level of breakdown that I want to. So I'm just going to show a few graphics and we'll move on. I'll give you my opinion. So starting off, just to let you know right away, this was a very difficult choice between these two fighters. A very difficult pick to make, in my opinion. I think both fighters pose very interesting issues for each other, and I think it could easily go one way or another. So I think the general consensus is that, Holly Holm's going to stay on the outside, try to pick Valentina Shevchenko apart, and I think that's a very likely scenario, hitting a decision for Holly Holm. I'm not so sure that it would be that simple for her to do. I think it is possible, but I think Valentina poses some pretty good problems. My pick is going to be Valentina Shevchenko, though. I'm not quite sure. I'll kind of make a last second decision here at the end of this, but let's go over Holly Holm real quick. She's going to be the bigger fighter here, taller, with a reach. She's much more boxing style, and what that means is she has much more of an emphasis on footworks, jabs, and then she also has a kickboxing style where she likes to look for that head kick, but I'm not so sure that left high kick is going to be so readily available. It will be. She can throw it and she can absolutely bait it, but I mean, it's not going to be so open like it is against orthodox fighters. This is Southpaw versus Southpaw. A lot of those open stance attacks are not going to be available, and Holly Holm is going to have to really rely on her lead hand to make sure, and her front kicks to keep that distance if Valentina decides to press forward. So Holly Holm kind of usually uses two different styles when she comes in to fight. She will usually do a kick-heavy style like she did against Marion Renault, where she does a lot of front, side kicks, oblique kicks, head kicks. She'll use that to keep her distance and a lot of footwork, where against Raquel Pennington, although she did still do kicks and front side kicks and whatnot, she boxed much more against Raquel Pennington, punching her way inside and landing combinations. But she relied more on kicks against Marion Renault. Now against Valentina Shevchenko, I do believe she's going to do the more kick-heavy style, not try to engage too much in the pocket. I'm sure she will, but I mean, not try to get too reckless in the pocket like maybe she did against Raquel Pennington. So that's what I see for sure. I think those front leg side kicks and those side kicks to the body and the head are going to be, and the hook kicks as well, are going to be quite important for her to do and keep that pace up. It's going to be important for Holly Holm not to dip off in the third round like she kind of does in the past. Usually Holly Holm does a good pace throughout her whole fight, but she kind of dips off around round 3 and 4 because her opponents usually start to figure her out and they start getting frustrated, or they start pressing forward more. And no matter what round it is, Holly Holm generally gets kind of clipped up here and there from either forward pressure or combinations in the pocket or counter strikes in the pocket. And Valentina Shevchenko poses a very big problem because she is a little bit different than other female fighters, where she has very good counter striking capabilities and she's very precise with her strikes, and she also has a taekwondo background. So when you have Holly Holm circling, she's probably going to look for spinning kicks off Holly's circling, so expect that for sure. I don't see many other ways that Holly Holm can kind of win this fight. Although she has a larger frame, I'm not so certain she'd be safe in the clinch. I think she can hold her own for sure, but I'm not so sure that she would want to get into that clinch battle with someone like Valentina Shevchenko. So let's talk about Valentina Shevchenko a little bit. She's generally the smaller fighter. There's a history where we talked about how she has a victory over Joanna Jędrzejczyk, but I mean, that's rather irrelevant information. We just know that she's a high caliber striker. She has a long Muay Thai career, a longer career in striking than Holly Holm does boxing, or more experience rather. She also, Valentina is very well versed in many different disciplines of martial arts. She has a Sambo, a wrestling, a Judo background. Those are going to be very important in fights like this, because when it does get into those grappling exchanges, I do believe that top heavy throw style of wrestling and grappling is going to help her out, because I'm not so sure a double leg is going to help her against Holly Holm. Holly Holm did very well against Raquel Pennington, stuffing most takedowns, and she also did well against Ronda Rousey, negating any of throws. But then again, Ronda Rousey was fucked from the beginning. She got rocked really bad that footwork just gave her problems. Valentina Shevchenko is not going to seek out that throw. I think it'll just come to her, honestly, because Holly Holm, just based on the past, when she does throw combinations, she generally ends up in the clinch. So I expect that to absolutely happen here. And Valentina's not going to go chasing after Holly Holm like Ronda Rousey did. So she's also a better striker. She's much more disciplined. That is going to be a big difference in this fight. Valentina Shevchenko, very good counter striker. She, like I mentioned, has that taekwondo background. So what it comes down to when it's Southpaw versus Southpaw is a lot of it can be based off of who has a very good lead hand, somebody who's able to counter and use that lead hand as power, because the left hand down the pocket that most Southpaws have against an orthodox striker like Conor McGregor, that's not going to be so readily available. I mean, it'll still be there, but that lane and being able to step outside the foot, that's not going to be available for these girls, and they're usually used to that. That's how Holly Holm was really able to defeat Ronda Rousey. As Ronda Rousey stepped in, Holly Holm was able to just step past that foot and throw the left, and that's how McGregor got a lot of his knockouts as well. That's not going to be available for either of these ladies, and they're kind of used to having that sort of advantage. So here's my quick assessment of what I think goes down in this fight. I think the first couple rounds will certainly be Holly Holm's as she tries to figure out her range, and Valentina Shevchenko, generally a slow starter, she'll be kind of trying to figure out her own range as well. And I think Holly Holm takes those first couple rounds, and once we start hitting the third, I think we're going to see a change in dynamics, and I wonder at what point the clinch game starts to begin to implement itself. I think it's going to start around there. I do believe Valentina is going to find a lot of success with body kicks and leg kicks for sure. I also think that she'll find success with the counter right hand as counter lead right hand, as we were talking about earlier. And as the tide begins to turn and Holly Holm starts to dip downward, I think we see Shevchenko start to hit an incline and start going uphill. And I think that is going to determine what the fight is. And as they start to scrap more, I even see Shevchenko trying to get it to the ground. And I think that might be enough to edge out a victory. I was thinking maybe this could end in submission. If you look at Valentina's career outside the UFC, she has a lot of different kinds of submissions. I think she has like a rear naked choke. I think she has an Ezekiel choke. She definitely has a ground game, and that's an advantage she has over Holly Holm. I just think that if Holly Holm stays disciplined and smart with her range, she'll probably walk away with a good decision victory, or maybe even a KO, because she's very tricky with that high kick. She's good at changing levels, and Amanda Nunes even had quite a bit of success throwing the head kick against Valentina Shevchenko as well, so that's certainly a possibility for Holly Holm to win that way. But I think with Valentina's style, I tend to lean towards a later round victory, maybe a submission, TKO through the counter right hand, or a decision. I think I'm just gonna, based on how their careers have turned out thus far in the UFC, I'm gonna tend to lean towards a decision victory here for Valentina Shevchenko. So that's how I see it playing out. Thank you for watching Rapid MMA. Please leave your comments down below.